Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Deez, this is my workshop. Today's video is going to be not so much focused on the actual project being made, but testing a new clamp or scissor style knurler tool that I purchased, in addition to testing the carriage stop that I just created for my lathe. There's a video on that just released not too long before this particular video. Again, this is going to be another one of those game pieces I've made in the past. It's really just a opportunity to make something using some new tools that I purchased, testing them out, getting familiar with them. Primarily, it's going to be the knurling tool, the scissor knurler that I had purchased, in addition to using that compound carriage stop. What we're going to do is make a couple of those game pieces, the put and takes, and we're going to use this. This is almost an inch rod. It's 937 thou brass. It's about basically an inch hex stock, and we're going to cut out a couple pieces and make two game pieces out of this. I've got a friend that I want to give one to, and this is a good opportunity to test some tools and make a little trinket for somebody, just to show appreciation for all the help he's given me over the last couple of years. Without any further ado, let's get started. This is the material I'm going to use. Like I said, this is extruded brass hex bar. It's a really nice sizable piece. Not cheap, really. Brass is not a cheap material to get, but kind of a fun project. I'm going to make two blanks to start with that are going to be 1.5 inches each. That is going to leave plenty of material for the top handle part where we spin, the angled portion to bring it down to a point, and then have a flat area where we can make it maybe 3/4 inch thick, and then chamfer a little bit of that to make it look nice, and then stamp our game piece numbers in there. So I'm going to go with 1.5 inches. I don't want to waste some material. I think that's going to give me plenty of material to work with. You know, you don't need this thing to be super tall, but I will need to face it off and do some chamfering and all that stuff. 1.5 inches to start with, and I think that will be more than enough material. So I need two blanks that are 1.5 inches each. Measure this out. Sorry about the mower. It's that time of year. Every day somebody's mowing. You know, the funny thing about that around here is nobody mows at the same time. As soon as somebody gets done mowing, the next person starts mowing. So there is a constant hum of mowers around the neighborhood, non-stop. I guess that's part of living in a neighborhood. Let's get moving on. We're going to cut these two blanks out, and these will be our two game pieces, and then we'll set this back on the shelf for a future project. Let's continue on. We've got our two blanks cut out, and we're going to make a couple of these game pieces and then try to clean them up, and I'm going to try to make these as nice as I can. I'm also going to try my scissor knurler on these as well. And that first thing we want to do is go ahead and get our angles cut in these, and then we'll go from there. Get this in here. There we go. And it'll be in reverse, so that we're cutting on the back side. It's safer than cutting on the front, getting too close to the chuck. And we'll lock the carriage, and we'll go ahead and get this first piece done, and we'll put the second one in and get them to the same stage. there's how that turned out. Again, I'm going to chamfer these edges. It'll we can adjust that if we need to, but I'm going to chamfer all these edges and make them look a lot nicer. And the key here that I've found is having a flat here on the bottom will allow this to actually sit when it falls over, rather than want to rock and get in between a number or a position on the game piece. This one better. I'm going to probably chuck that other one up and bring that down a little bit farther so it looks more like that. Let's get this out of here. There we go. I like that lip better. It still will do the same thing when it's done. So, yeah. Looks good. There we go. Brass chips everywhere. Let's take that out of there and evaluate it. I like that better. I thought earlier it had just way too much space. This didn't need that much space, so That looks a lot better, a lot more like the other one. There we go. There's our 2 pieces, ready to continue on. This is a good opportunity for me to use my carriage stop. And I made this in a previous episode. And I'm going to go ahead and, I took the accessory off that I made for it too. But I'm going to get this in here. There we go. Snug that down. Now, when I bring this in, it should be a positive stop. And I should not hit I shouldn't crash the chuck. Alright, we're going to bring this down to, I don't know, maybe, I'm going to stop maybe 1/2 inch round, and then we'll do a quick test and see if it will spin. I may need to take it a little shorter, but I do want to test the scissor knurl as well later. For now, I just want to bring this down, and that will be our handle. First thing we'll do is face this off, and then we'll bring it down. Well, the real question is, will that spin? I know once I pull that out of there, I won't get it lined back up, but I kind of want this beefy because I want to knurl that as well, at least the end of it, and see how that looks. Let's get that out of there and see if it's going to spin like a top. Pretty beefy. We're gonna take a little more off there. That might do. What are we at anyway? 380, 400 thou. Let's see if that's any better. Let's do a quick test spin. No. What's the deal here? It spins okay. It's still pretty heavy. I could probably take off some of the meat and maybe some of the knob there, but I want to knurl that. And maybe I'll undercut it a little bit. Let's go ahead and knurl that, and then I'll undercut and clean it, and then we'll chamfer these edges. That'll lighten it up a little bit more, and we'll see if it spins better. Well, these pretty much are done. I ended up just experimenting and bringing more and more of the thickness off. One of these is a little thicker than the other, and I think I've got a good spot here. This one's okay. This one spins even better. So they'll just sit there and spin for quite a while. Well, not too bad. So I got my base pieces done. The next thing we want to do is to knurl them and chamfer all the edges, and I think we're looking pretty good. Polish up the tip of that a little bit maybe. That might help. I think that's a little rough. But yeah, making good progress. We're going to chamfer all the edges, and then we're going to do our knurl. I want to see how that clamp style knurler, scissors knurler, comes out. We're going to test out the new scissor knurler that I have, and I think what we want to do is adjust, if I can, I'd like to adjust these down. These are a little bit, it's a little too wide the way that it is. I don't think I'm going to get the travel that I want, because I'm going to knurl these parts here. So let's disassemble this thing. And I think that goes out the bottom, if I remember right. There's a spring here, and then you got this pin that should come out, maybe. There we go. Just needs a little finagling. There, that is. And then I need to shift these down. So we'll leave that on there. That's fine, because it needs to be there anyway. Let's see, does any of these work? Let's try this piece first. And I want to put it down here. Hopefully that's all it takes. I never did disassemble these. Pretty oily, but rusty, but oily, but messy. That's alright. I'd rather it be oily than rusted. Okay, so there's that piece. Let's move this one. We're going to move that one to here. we go. And I think I'm going to need, I think that's what the smaller spring was for, because that will lock in there like that. But I think we got to use the smaller spring because this one is way too big, if I remember right. Somebody commented anyway. There we go. So let's pull that out, seat that in there. As best we can. There we go. And just worm that in there somehow. Turn that. It should seat in there. There we go. All right. I would expect that to open up a little wider than that, but that's actually all I need. So if we put this in here, I wonder if that's upside down anyway. No, I don't think so. This has a chamfer on it, so let's get this back on here. There we go. Okay, we're gonna try to knurl these, see what this does. I need to get a tool holder and get everything mounted in the lathe, and we'll be ready to go. We've got our scissor knurler mounted up here in the quick change tool post. We've got our game piece back in here, and I'm going to knurl as much as I can on here. I was going to clean this up anyway towards the bottom, so we'll just knurl that in as far as we can go, and tighten these down a little bit. And yeah, let's see what we can do. Haven't used these knurlers yet, so hopefully it turns out all right. We're gonna find out. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. I know it's brass, but that looks good. I'm gonna come back in here. I'm gonna chamfer this, and then I'm gonna undercut this a little bit on this side so that it doesn't look, you know, like I didn't finish the whole edge. And then we'll knurl the other one. Yeah. Looks good. That was way less pressure on the headstock and the bearings than in the past, so quite happy with that. Let's see if we can do this too while we have this chucked up. That's good there. I'm going to come back. I'll do these other operations in a minute because I need to bring this out and take my stop off. But I'm going to go ahead and knurl the other one while we have this kind of set up. Yeah, that one's not as good, but we'll fix it up. This thing ain't great, but it's better. Gotta do some tweaking with it. Let's get in here and chamfer that, and then we'll clean this part up. That top part's done. We just need to chamfer the bottom. I believe that one is done. Other than polishing it up, cleaning it, and stamping it, the actual turning of this one should be ready. Let me get the other one and we'll clean it up and do the same thing and get them to the same stage. That is close enough. Alright, let's test these out. Now they're all cleaned up. We'll see how well these things spin. I'm going to stop right there. I need to probably polish these up before I stamp them, or try to polish them up somehow, and then we'll carry on. Be nice to put a little D's in there or something, but yeah, these are pretty much done other than stamping them. Both pretty much the same design, slightly different measurements I think on a couple, but for the most part, yeah, these are ready to continue on. Hey everybody, I wanted to bring you up to speed on where we are at the moment. We got all the machining done, the turning. Both of these turned out pretty much the same, with just slight variations, but for the most part, both of these game pieces are turned out as I envisioned. I did end up going thinner on the body portion of this because it just wasn't spinning like I wanted it to. I might make an alteration where I take off some of this chamfer. I'm not sure. I like the looks of that, how it's got kind of an oval look to it, but it does rock when it, because of that slight chamfer there. When it finishes spinning, it does a little bit of a rock, but it always seems to land on a side. Here's the other one. I'm still learning the knurl. I got that scissor style knurler, and that was something I wanted to use in this video. In addition, I used my carriage stop clamp, and that worked out really well when I was trying to come up to the same depth of cut for all of the turning. Quite pleased with that thing. So here's let's do a little test on how these turned out. There's one, here's the other one. One seems to spin a little bit better than the other, but with their heft, they do last quite a while. See how it rocks there, but it does seem to land on a face, so I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, it's going to be fine. But I think the next thing that I want to do, I want to clean up the faces of this. I want to polish it up or just make it look a little cleaner. This is just the raw edge from the original molding and forging, or however they made this product. So I want to polish this up and clean it up. And then the next thing will be to stamp all of our, put one, take two, put two, take all, put. And I would really, I don't know if I could put in the end a DZ. I'd like to put D's on the end just to put my rubber stamp on it that these were D's original parts. Could also do like a DZ here, D's, but I think I'd like to put it up at the top. We'll see how that works out. I don't know how small of a punch that I have goes, but we'll find out. These are coming on nice. I like them. We've made a lot of progress, and we did get to test using our clamp style knurler, scissor knurler, whatever you want to call it, in addition to using my carriage stop that I made. This is after I hot blued it. Actually turned out really well. I'm quite happy with that. Should really hold up with rust prevention. It's got a really nice hue to it. Even the cylinder for the accessory that I made turned out very nice. It really looks nice. Hopefully that keeps the rust off of that and won't be an issue moving forward. So we're going to clean this up because I've got a lot of residue from the knurling operation on these parts. Get that stuff out of here, and we'll bring you up to speed here on our game pieces. Let me get a towel. Again, this was, if you're interested in the carriage stop, it's a very simple design but very effective. Worked out really well. It was quite nice to have that comfort. When I was turning down the knobs or the handle portion of these tops, these game pieces, it was nice to have that positive stop right before where I could chuck it up, right in front of the lathe chuck, so that I knew I wouldn't crash into it. It's very, very, very handy, and I'm glad I made this thing. I'm going to use that quite a bit. I'm just going to clean off some of that brass dust or residue so we can put these away. And I removed the accessory piece that I had from it. Let's go ahead and put this back on. And then this piece uses this screw, and I got a real heavy chamfer on the bottom, so it's flush and it doesn't interfere with anything. Really goes together well. Once it gets on the lathe, it's quite handy. Pretty pleased with this project. So we'll just put that back on there for storage. Slide this over here for storage. Just kind of snug that down so we don't lose any of the pieces. All right, so that can go back in the toolbox. The scissor knurler, some things that were not frustrating, but I got to learn how to use it properly. I think the second part I came down a little too aggressive to start with, and I was having trouble moving back and forth. I can't imagine that I bent these arms, but I loosened them up here, but you can kind of see there's a bit of flop to this thing back and forth, and these things this isn't the best thing. I know you can make these things, but I will say that using this over the pressure side knurler I look forward to using this again. That side knurler just puts so much pressure onto my lathe bearings and all that. I really don't recommend you use those. They will come with your lathe or come with a tool post or accessories that you buy. Your best bet is to toss that thing and get a scissor style, whether you buy a cheapo like this, make one, or an expensive one. Doesn't matter, but I definitely recommend getting a scissor style knurler. Just don't start using the other one. Cut the cut the end off and use it as something else. Use it for some other project, but don't use it on your lathe. That is my official recommendation. And I'm no expert. I can just tell you, I don't like that thing. That brings us up to speed with the testing of the tools that I had. Now it's time to finish this project so I can deliver it to my friend. Both of these are pretty much the same dimension. If you ever do decide to tackle one of these on your own, these are about the dimensions that I have found that work really well. Up to 1 inch stock, I suppose you can make these things really big. The smaller ones I made at a 1/2 inch hex stock they don't quite have enough heft to keep going. They do spin and they work. That was the batch version of these that I made. But this is a good compromise, and they spin quite well. I could take down some of this chamfer a little farther and it would lay flatter instead of rocking when it's done, but I like the looks of this, and they do stop where they're supposed to. So I'm going to leave it this way. The other thing I noticed, if you do decide to make any of these, if you go with the sharpest point you can, they don't work as well as if you just knock off that tip. Make it a little bit more blunt, and this thing will spin a whole lot better. Both of them, I've done that. I've got all the turning done that I want. I could soften this a little if I wanted to take off the peaks of the diamond pattern, but I don't think I will. But they both spin quite well. The last thing I really want to do is try to polish up these faces before we put a stamp on each of these faces. So I'm going to see, I've got some different stuff, Brasso or something. I'm going to see if I can shine up these faces before we punch them, and we'll see what that looks like. I could use some steel or Scotch-Brite. Thought about using that. One way or another, I want to clean these surfaces up a little bit, and then we'll finish them out. Well, this is what I'm going to try to use to clean those up. I've had this stuff for a long time. Brasso. It's supposed to clean up pewter, brass, chrome, copper, stainless. It just shines it up. I've used it on brass before, and it does seem to work. It's old. I don't know how well it's kept. Let's see if I can pop that open. Let's give this a shot. Hopefully this cleans these up. I don't want to mill these off. I don't want to make them smaller. Hopefully, I just want to shine them up, and then we'll give them a stamp. So let's see here. May have to use some Scotch-Brite. I mean, it will shine it up a little bit. I want to take off that patina. I'm gonna get some Scotch-Brite. You can see it is shining it up a little bit. I think Scotch-Brite will really help. Definitely shines it up a little, but I think we can do better than that. Let's use some of this. Matter of fact, we'll just kind of dump her in here. It'll be easier. I don't know. I'll just have to keep working at this. We'll see how these come out. I mean, it definitely makes a little difference, but need to just keep at it. I'll work on this and bring you back once I have everything shined up. We got these cleaned up pretty well with that Brasso. Again, I could probably get like a polishing wheel or something else to really brighten those up, but I think for now, that's just fine the way it is. Clean off a little bit of that residue, a little more of that anyway. And they're better than they were. There are some forge marks from when this was extruded, but just adds to the character. I don't really have a polishing wheel to buff that stuff out. I don't want to grind on them. So I think we're just going to move forward and mark these things. Put our stamps in them and finish these out. There they are. So let's move on to stamping them. And I have two different sizes of punches. We got this big set and we got a smaller set. Let's see. I think we can use this bigger set. Yeah. So we'll start with all put and take all. Here's a T. I need something more substantial than that. Let's try this. Take all. Take all. These punches are not great. Take all. You get the point. I'm going to go through these, get these all stamped, and then I'll bring you back. There you have it. There are the two put and tapes that I made. Again, one of these is going to go to my friend. I just wanted to give him a token of appreciation. I even put a little DZ in the top. Tried to lightly do it. I didn't want to overdo it and screw up the finish on that. I haven't painted them or anything. I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to give them in their raw machined format to my friend. He's certainly welcome to paint these if he wants. And in the end, he'll have a garage piece custom made by Dee's Workshop. So hopefully he enjoys. I hope you enjoyed as well. Again, this was really not about making these game pieces. It was about using the knurler and the carriage stop. Those worked out very well. Quite pleased with those. And you know, every time I make one of these, I make slight improvements to it. A lot of people like them. A lot of friends want them. So every time I make them, I seem to give them all away. So went ahead and made a couple more. But again, the Scissor Knurler is way better than using the side pressure knurler. Definitely recommend getting one. I'm not sure the one I have is very good quality, but it does work. Definitely puts a lot less pressure on the bearings. And then the carriage stop I made, highly recommend you make one of those. It works very well. And make a couple of these while you're at it. Have fun in the garage. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.